Sebastian from the Metal Gods Meltdown, and I'm joined by...
Nice. And I'm Kristian, as you know.
You sure you're not Paul Stanley?
No, I'm not Stanley. Maybe in my dreams as a child. I don't know.
Congratulations on your album, Welcome to My World. It's not out for a couple of weeks yet. You've released 3 tracks so far. How's the feedback?
Very exciting to see what this is going to be in the end. And very much, good feedback. And it's very inspiring. So I enjoy the ride.
So how does the songwriting process work within the band? Is it more of a solo effort or a group effort?
I've always been writing songs since I was a small child, in fact. So for me, it's an ongoing work. And now we are working on the 3rd album, just for the moment. And now Andreas Lindgren, who plays guitar, he has written 2 songs. And even the bass player, Örjan Wahlström, is going to write one. So they're joining up to write songs. But the first 2 albums, I have written the material.
Can you tell me which is your favourite track on the album today and why?
It's very hard to say because there's small babies to me, all the tracks. So one day it's that song and another day it's another song. It's very hard to choose one.
Do you
plans for the year tour-wise?
Currently, we're working on our third album. When we're done with that, we're gonna rehearsal to go out on the road. You know, Starmen has to be. You can't play on small clubs. It won't work. I think this is made for a larger scale, kind of. So we have to think about, you know, more elements than just music to get this right. I think video projections or you know, pyro and everything. It has to be grandiose.
Having grown up in the 80s, which was the best time for music, in my opinion, is like a step back in time to the 80s with a modern edge. Would you say that's a fair comment?
Yeah, I think that. I think it's the kind of mash between 70s and 80s classic rock, which I love. And I love David Coverdale. It's my mentor in life. Actually, it began like a celebration to all my former and present heroes. That's why I put the band together to bring a tribute to my heroes. So it's fair to say that it's a lot of 80s classic rock, yeah.
And obviously there's a Kiss connection there. Honestly, some of the songs, you could be Shut Your Eyes and it could be Kiss. So I'm going to ask you, which are your two favourite Kiss albums?
Of course, Destroyer. I think it's a splendid album. Well produced with a very special sound compared to the others, and maybe Creatures of the Night. I think it's a good album. And of course, I love Kiss. I've grown up with Kiss, and I'm currently in a band, a Kiss tribute band, because I think it's so funny to dress up and wear high heel shoes. So it's a connection.
The first time you ever played live and how it felt to have people watching you?
Well, it's hard to describe for the person that don't play, but it's like sex and better, you know. And I was maybe in the 5th or 6th grade when I first played for audience, and I immediately thought it was paradise on earth. So it has stuck with me since then.
Of course, you've also been involved with other bands. Is the Starmen a full-time project for you now?
Yes, it's priority number one. Since there are so good feedback and inspiring, so you can't let this be number one. It has to be number one. It's a thrill every day.
Why the Starmen and why the makeup?
It started out as a challenge to a friend of mine. We always visit Sweden Rock Festival every year, and he said he's going to put a band together and do an album. And I thought, well, I haven't been writing hard rock, classic rock for ages since I'd done my pop albums for a decade. So I thought it was time. So I challenged him, and 1 year later we have done our records, and I got the good feedback when I was reading, classic rock magazine, and on each page bands are presented to the viewer, and they all look the same. It's 4 or 5 angry men with sunshades and leather jackets, and I thought we have to stand out in the masses. I don't want to look like everybody else, so we have to do something spectacular. And of course, I've grown up with Kiss and Sweet and Elton John and David Bowie and all the glam era, and I always thought it was a cool thing. So it came pretty natural to dress up the Starmen with all the colors and the makeup, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and that's how it's supposed to be. It's going to be fun. But one thing's very important, I think, that you can't do this gimmick without having good songs, because it won't last. And I really, really think we get good songs, and I'm very, very proud of our material. So it wouldn't work for a long time if we didn't have good music.
Why we should buy Welcome to My World?
Because I think there will always be generations who will listen to this classic rock. It's very basic. Gene Simmons once said, rock and roll is dead. No way. It's take new forms and it will always survive. And I think this album is a fantastic album of, like I said, a mishmash between 70s and 80s rock, when it's like in the best way, I think, of course.
Couldn't agree more. Can you give us 4 words to describe the Starmen?
Spectacular, groovy. 2 more words. I don't know. It's hard. But maybe that 2 words can combine.
Okay, if you were stuck on a desert island for a year, which 4 famous musicians would you take with you?
I would take Paul McCartney. I've listened to Beatles and Paul McCartney for all my life, and Paul McCartney is absolutely one of the greatest performers and musicians. I would take David Coverdale, would be nice. I would take Brian May from Queen, and I would take maybe Stevie Wonder.
That would be one hell of a band, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Festival or small intimate gig?
Festival, of course. It's Starmen.
Vinyl or digital?
Vinyl.
Meatballs or beer?
Beer, of course.
ABBA or Hammerfall?
ABBA.
And the final one, the 1970s or the 1980s?
It has to be late 1979, so I get the both.
Well, thank you for your time. Do you have any final words for your fans and our listeners?
Let's get Starmenized. Hello, this is Kristian Hermanson from Starmen. You're listening to Metal Gods.